You know it's this. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowed like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a billion who sang on my head. Look at better put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil that shit ain't not cheap again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the first part of What If Deku Meets dcsuperherogirls. Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of Pixel's Fanbook on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. Izukumidoriya couldn't believe his luck right now. He was in the United States right now and just landed in Metropolis, one of the best cities in the nation where heroes lived in, like Superman, who is one of his favorite heroes in the US, and ironic the city was only just a river away from Gotham City, home to the one hero beside All Might who was quirkless, the Batman. Izuku just hopped off the airplane and was now ready to start his new life in America. He started to remember how he got here in the first place. Flashback, 2 weeks ago. Izuku was sitting in the office of his school's principal, Nizu, who was sitting in his chair by his desk drinking tea. Now Izuku was sweating buckets loads, not because he was called to the principal's office, which surprised his class and importantly him, as they knew Izuku was a great student and not a troublemaker unlike Bakugou, who was on house arrest for blowing up the gym during training. No, not because that every teacher and staff in UA were in the office, even his mentor, All Might, but his mom and his newly adopted sister Eri were there as well. Izuku quietly sat on his chair with the sweat coming down his forehead and shaking as he looked at Nizu as he continues to drink his tea. Now young Midoriya, do you know as to why you are here? Asked Nizu as he places his tea on his desk and looks at the green-haired boy as Izuku sweats even more. No, Nizu-sensei. Is this about the time I graded the tests present Mike-sensei left by accident? Answered the scared and sweaty boy as the teachers and more importantly the voice hero himself looked at the boy in shock as they saw the tests when Mike went back to class 1A to get them and saw that not only were they were graded accurately, as whoever graded them left some notes on improving. No, it is not that, but we will discuss that on a later date. Now Midoriya, we've received a message from the United States of America to ask us in Japan to show them how to establish a hero academic system into their schools and a hero system as well, and they've asked us to send one of our own students to America and be a representative of UA for 1 year, and we've decided to send someone from class 1A, said the rodent principal. So what does this have to do with me? Should I get the person chosen for this? Asked Izuku, confused as to why was he called to the office if the teachers wanted to tell him to wait. I see that you figured out, young Midoriya, said Nizu as he saw Izuku's expression change from confused to shocked. But why me? Surely that's someone else more qualified to do this than me, asked Izuku, not wanting to do this now in the school year. Well, we've gone over who we've thought were qualified to do this task and we've narrowed it down to 5 in class 1A. We went through the possibilities of Tenya Ida, Shototodoroki, Katsuki Bakugou, Momo Yaoyorozu, and finally you. We've taken the personalizes, characterizes, skills and interaction skills over the 5 of you, and we've decided that you are the only one that fits the bill in this more, Midoriya, said Aizawa, who was cutting an apple for Eri. But why me? How about Ida? He's more skilled in hero political democracy than me, Izuku asked. We talked to Ida about it and he declined it. He said that he would be more fit here than America, as the country is known of its crime rate there than here. Nizu answered the boy. How about Yaoyorozu? Her family declined as they were afraid that someone would abduct Miss Yaoyorozu for money that they make from their business or as some type of revenge due to said business. How about Todoroki? Endeavor declined the offer before we got a chance to ask young Todoroki. How about Kaken? Are you serious? Sorry. Sigh, look Midoriya, think of how this could chance things in the United States and the next generation of heroes there, think of the justice said Nizu, playing his trump card as he did research on Izuku. If there was one thing that Izuku couldn't say no to, his heroes. Nizu grinned, seeing Izuku's shoulders go down and relax, as that was the sign of giving up. Okay, I'll do it, said Izuku, defeated. Excellent, Midoriya. But what about my mom and sister Eri? I can't leave them, Izuku said, pointing to his mother and little sister. Which is why we are letting them go with you. Huh? Izuku said, confused. You see, we cannot separate our students from their families, especially of something like this, so we at UA have decided to let your mother and Eri to accompany you to America. Nizu said. Mom, are you sure about this? Izuku asked his mom. I'm sure, sweetie. Plus, I always wanted to see America. Your father used to tell me all about it during his visits and trips there. Inko said. And you, Eri? Izuku asked his little sister as she was eating her apple slices. I want to go with you, Deku. Eri said, cutely. Izuku saw this and thought that this could change things for the hero community. Izuku turned back to Nizu. Sir. I'll do it, Izuku said with determination. Thank you, Midoriya family, for doing this. You have no idea for what this will do to the hero community in the future. Nizu said. End flashback. Nizu made the call and everything was arranged. The family were on their way to leave as Izuku said his goodbyes to his class and to the big three, well, most of them. Bakugou chose that week. Izuku was scheduled to leave to go out and look of a hero agency to intern and never once spoke to him. He didn't even know that his rival was leaving for a year until it was too late. After a 12-hour flight, the Midoriya family had arrived to their new home for the next year. Metropolis. They went through customs to have their things checked. The officer looked through Inko's luggage and saw nothing that looked suspense. Next, the officer looked through Eri's luggage and saw a lot of apples in it. He decided not to. He then looked through Izuku's luggage. So far, he saw nothing out of place. That was until he went of Izuku's hero suitcase. He opened it and looked at it, then to Izuku, who looked horrified that his hero outfit was out in the open. Then to the suit again and closed the suit and looked at Izuku. Son, what is this? The customs officer asked. It's my hero suit. I came here to be a hero, Izuku said, afraid that the airport will send him back home. Oh, well. That's great. I'm a bit of a Superman fan myself, the officer said with a smile as he handed the case to Izuku, who was dumbfounded. I hope you have a lovely time here in Metropolis and welcome to the US, said the officer as Izuku just nodded, trying to understand what just happened. The family went out of the airport and caught a cab so they could go to the house that Udare arranged of them to stay. The cab went down the busy city as Eri looked out the window. Wow, look at the buildings and lights, Eri said, in awe at the display of billboards and. Yes, dear. It's lovely, Inko said, smiling at Eri's curiosity. And we'll be here for a while. I'll take you to see the rest of the city with me later in the week, Izuku said. Really? Yup, we'll do it. But first, we have to get ready for school tomorrow. Okay. Thanks, Niken, Eri said. The cab continued to drive down until it arrived at a suburban area. The family got out and looked at their new home for the year. It was standard 2-story house. It had the usually kitchen, living room, attic, but this one had 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms and balcony where there was a planting area on it. Wow, this house is pretty big, Inko said, overwhelmed by the size of their new house. Yeah, Izuku said, equally overwhelmed. Let it be known that Izuku and his mom lived in an apartment that was suit of them. So to move into a big house like this one was a new game to them. The Midoriyas went inside and checked their new home. Obviously, before they left Japan, they sent their stuff and furniture ahead to be put in the house. They could see the boxes that held their things like Izuku's All-Might collection, Inko's bedroom items and kitchen items and Eri's new pink princess and cat things. A few hours later, the Midoriyas were done placing most of their things in the right place. Izuku went downstairs and looked at Eri, who was trying to watch American TV while he saw his mom in the kitchen. "Mom. I'm going out to look around the neighborhood," Izuku said. "Oh, okay sweetie. Just be careful." "Inko." "Okay," Izuku said as he went to the front door and put on his shoes. He went outside and looked at his new neighborhood. He looked to his right and saw a house that looked like his next door but a different shade of color from his. He decided to go there first to see what his new neighbors were like. Izuku stood by the door of his new neighbor's house, ready to say hello and greet his new neighbors. He rang the doorbell and waited for someone to come to the door. He didn't have to wait long as the door knob twisted and the door opened. Izuku stood there and saw a girl his age or a bit older than him. She had short blonde hair that came down to about her neck with her front bang covering most of her right side of her face. She wore a dark blue t-shirt under a black jacket, grayish-red jeans with combat boots. Izuku could tell that she works out, due to her biceps in her sleeves. However, being a warm-blooded male that he was, he really couldn't help but notice that the girl in front of him had a body. A great body at that. But two things stood out to him more: her melons. Her melons were quite large, but the other thing that caught his eyes were her legs. He could see that her legs could crush anything. Izuku gulped. He knew that his track record with girls was not a very good one at most. But can you blame the guy? He spent a good decade, being an outcast to the world due to him being quirkless in Japan, but only a few months ago, did he start talking to the opposite SEC, but he really hadn't gone far than that. He took a deep breaths and hyped himself in his mind and started speaking. Hi. I'm. Izuku could only say before he was cut off by the blonde girl. "Look buddy, whatever you're selling, we ain't buying," the blonde girl said before slamming the door in his face. Izuku stood there in shock at the rebellious, and freckly plain rude attitude of the young woman, who from what he saw stood a good inches taller than him. He reached for the doorbell again and pressed it. And again the same young blonde woman opened the door. "Ugh, look pal. I already told you that we ain't interested. Are you stupid or something?" asked the blonde before she tried to slam the door onto Izuku once more, only to have Izuku stop her by placing his hand against the door and using a bit of one for all without her noticing. "No, I'm not a salesman. I'm just your new neighbor from next door. Me and my family just moved in. I'm Izuku Midoriya. Nice to meet you." "Look pal, I don't know what you're talking about but..." the blonde girl was saying, but another voice from inside the house cut her off. "Kara, sweetie. Who's at the door?" A woman wearing glasses was walking to the front door, after hearing the slam before to see what was going on. "Some kid who says that he's..." "Oh, you must be our new neighbor and the exchange student that Kara is in charge of taking care of," the woman said as the blonde teen looked at her in shock. "What? Why wasn't I told of this?" the blonde girl yelled, clearly in shock. "Kara, I did talk to you about this last week," the woman said as the girl, now known as Kara, started to remember anything on a talk regrading her being in charge of an exchange student in the last week. Flashback, last week. Kara was in her kitchen, jamming out to one of her band's music on full blast when Mrs. Danvers walked in. "Oh Kara, you're here. Good. I have something to ask you," Mrs. Danvers said to her adoptive daughter. "Yeah," Kara said, listening to the music and not her mother. "Your school is looking for someone that is willing to take care for a new student that's coming next week with his family. I was thinking that if you could take care of him when you two are in school." Mrs. Danvers asked Kara, who was still listening to her music, as she nodded to the music. "Yeah," Kara said, but Mrs. Danvers took it as Kara's answer. "Really, are you sure that you really want this?" Mrs. Danvers asked, trying to make sure if Kara was really up for it. "Rock on!" Kara yelled, hearing the best part of the song. "Oh good, that's really nice of you. Well, I'll call the school and tell them that you're the one who's taking the job," Mrs. Danvers said as she left the kitchen and straight to her phone. Kara took out her headphone for a second and looked around but saw no one in the kitchen, so she shrugged and went back to her music. End flashback. Kara went eye widen as the gravity settled in. For all the times for her to ignore her mom, it had to the one time she had was placed to take care for a foreign teenage boy. "You're kidding me, right? I don't want to look after some kid from another country," Kara yelled while pointing to Izuku, who was still standing at her door. "Sorry Kara, but the schools have finalized this, and since he's here, you can't take your word back. Tell me sweetie, what's your name?" Mrs. Danvers asked. Oh. Sorry, my name is Izukumidoriya, I am from Japan." "It's so nice to meet you Izuku," Mrs. Danvers said. "The pleasure is mine ma'am," Izuku politely said. "Well, I'll leave you two alone so you can get to know each other," Mrs. Danvers said as she left the two teens alone and went back into the house. Izuku was going to speak but Kara cut him off. "Let's get something straight. You don't talk to me at school and I don't talk to you unless you have something, and I mean something important, to ask. Got it?" Kara said with a glare in which her pupils were glowing red slightly. "Got it," Izuku said, fearing of his health. "Good," Kara said as she slams the door in Izuku's face once again like before and left the boy outside. "Well, that was interesting," Izuku said. He decided that he would look around later in the week and went back home to get ready of school tomorrow. The next day, Izuku was in a bus, heading straight to Metropolis High, to where his first day would begin. He was wearing a short-sleeve green hoodie with a white t-shirt and a black sleeve on his right arm, black shorts and his usually red sneakers. He had his hero costume in his backpack, just in case something came up. He was busy watching on his phone on some hero news back in Japan and here in the US when a headline caught his attention. The headline said that there was a new mysterious hero in Metropolis and this caught his attention. Whoever was this person had to be a powerful person to defeat a monster by themselves in Midtown. Izuku hopped off the bus, looked at the school he was going to attend for the next year. This is it. My first day at a new school. Let's hope it'll be great. Izuku thought, hoping that today won't cause any problem like his last first day back at U.A. He saw Kara exiting a car with her parents in the front talking about something from the looks of things. Oh, it's Kara. Maybe I should go and say hi. Izuku thought as he started to make his way to Kara when he saw something unusually. He saw Kara slam down on the open car door, which she left a huge dent on it, and the force of the slam made the car tilt to one side of a few seconds before the car corrected itself and landed on all four wheels again. What just happened? Does she have a super strength quirk or something similar? Because no normal person could do something like that. Izuku thought while watching Kara storm away from her parents, who were unfazed by the slam and rough landing. He decided that it would be for the best to let her cool down for now. Another bus rolled up behind him and students exited the bus. The last student who was exiting the bus was a short girl who looked a bit younger than Izuku, tripped and fell to the ground, which caused the items in her bag to fall and slip across the ground. This girl was of medium length, light/dark brown hair and light brown skin. She had gray/green eyes. She was wearing a long-sleeve be-like, yellow and brown, sweater, a yellow short skirt, dark brown leggings, and light brown boots. Oh, hi there. Need help? Izuku asked, which bending down to the girl. Izuku asked the brown-skinned girl, who looked at him and blushed and turned away from him. Why yes. The girl said. The two started picking up the girl's spilled things and placing them back into her bag. There we go, I'm Izuku. Izuku said, having nearly finished returning the girl's items in her bag and almost forgetting to introduce himself. Karen. The girl said. So, what is it all here in school and what is the best? Izuku was speaking before he picked up the last item, which was a glove with a yellow gauntlet attached to it with buttons on it that was held by duct tape. Thank you. Bye. The short girl, now named Karen, quickly grabbing the glove and her things and ran away, leaving a very confused Izuku. Okay. Izuku could only say. Bye daddy. Izuku turned around to see a appealing girl exiting a limo. She had long purple and blue hair, light violet eyes, light pale skin. She was wearing dark red lipstick and also wore a white long sleeve shirt with a black vest, and a small dark magenta short skirt and black high heel boots. You forget your backpack. A man wearing a black two-piece suit with a top hat on popped from the sunroof of the limo, holding a purple backpack in his hand. Thanks Daddy Tooties. The girl said as she suddenly had her backpack in her hands. Izuku rubbed his eyes, confused as to what he just saw. Okay. That was weird. Tell me about it. A voice said behind Izuku which spooked him. He turned around and saw a girl, a bit shorter than him. She had orange hair with a bit of her hair sticking out of the front of her head. Her skin was pale white and she had green eyes. She wore a purple hoodie which looked like it had bat ears on the top, yellow stripes on the sleeves, with a yellow shirt underneath. She also wore dark purple shorts, long socks with white, purple and yellow stripes and yellow and white shoes. Hi, I'm new here. It's my first day. Have you been going here long? What's it like? Huh? She asked quickly, while getting a bit too close to Izuku's personal space. She remains me for Hato-chan, and a bit of Hatsum-san. Izuku thought, seeing that the girl in front of him and his senpai back home were hyperactive and talkative. Barbara Gordon, but my friends call me Babs. From Gotham. Hi there. I am Izukumidoriya, and I'm from Japan. Izuku said, as the. Really? Wow, that's so awesome. So, what's it like back home? Well. Izuku started speaking as they were now having a conversation. The conversation between the two was starting to go well as they walked into the school building and strolled down the crowded hallway. Izuku felt more comfortable with Babs as they discussed superheroes, more accurately, Batman and All Might. I told you how. I don't believe in the Lantern Corps. Their methods are too extreme. Both Izuku and Babs turn and see has long dark brown hair, green eyes, light brown skin and wears a long sleeve green CRP top shirt, with a long green dress with sleeveless straps on shoulders underneath and dark green flats. Along with light green hoop earrings and a green bonnet. And a long green skirt with green ballet shoes. Look, I don't make the rules. The boy, Hao, tried to explain. Take it Hao. The girl said as she takes off the emerald ring from her finger. I don't want it. She said as she tries to hand it to Hao. No Jess. They chose you. Hao declined the ring which caused the girl to sigh and put the ring back onto her finger. Okay, weird. Izuku thought as the bell rang, he rushed to his homeroom to start the day. 3 hours later. It was now lunch break and everyone was in the cafeteria. Izuku got his bento that his mom prepared of him and Eri for the day. He looked around for a spot to sit down and eat as he saw Babs sitting by herself and looking around the room. As if she was analyzing something or someone in the room. On his way to her, he could hear the other students rambling on their new VR headset or something that caught his attention. The news on the fight with the debut of the Wonder Woman. He really wanted to know who was she and how her powers works, you know, for his notebooks. Hello again Barbara. Izuku greeted. Hiya Izuku. Babs said, not even looking at the boy with taking a sip on her milk as she stares at Kara, the short African-American girl, the Hispanic girl and the purple-haired girl. Izuku looks at her while taking a bite of his lunch. Ah. Barbara? Yes. Why are you look at Kara and the other 3 girls from earlier? Izuku asked. Just checking on something. I have a theory but I need proof. Babs said. What proof? Izuku asked but Babs didn't answer him. Instead, she picked up a piece of her pasta and threw into the direction of Kara's face. The pasta hit Kara straight in her face while she was laughing. Kara wiped the food off her face and looked around to see who was eating pasta and was the closest. She saw Karen eating her own pasta for lunch while reading a book. She was suddenly hit in the back of her head with a burger, sending her to the ground. She looks up and sees Kara holding another burger and throws to the African American. Just as Karen was preparing of the burger to hit her once again, the Hispanic girl jumps in front of the burger's path and blocks it with her food tray. Leave her alone, you bully. The Hispanic girl yells at Kara but. My hair. She turns to the purple-hailed girl who had a bit of the burger that Kara threw at them in her hair. My hair. The purple-haired girl yelled as she picked up a carton of milk and threw it to Kara who ducked and the milk hit the Hispanic girl. Kara started throwing food back at the purple-haired girl before her opponent retaliated and the two exchanged blows before Babs jumped onto another table and yelled. Food fight. Her yell ignited a food fight in which students got involved in. What is she trying to do? Izuku thought, seeing his new friend start a massive food battle. He ducked under the table and started to crawl on the floor, in hopes to avoid getting hit by flying meals and drinks. The 4 girls and Barbara met in the middle and continued to throw food at each other. Izuku managed to make it to the eye of the storm, meaning where Babs, Kara and the other girls who started the fight were at. He was about to try and stop them from fighting when. I said enough. The voice of the principal stopped everything. The entire room stopped brawling as only Kara and the other girls were still fighting while Izuku was in the middle of this. The principal stormed up to them and that's when they stopped fighting. You 6. Detention. Now. The principal yelled, causing the 6 to sigh and nodded. Izuku was having a panic attack. This was something he was not expecting on his first day. Oh man. Yep, great first day. Detention. On the first day of school. The principal said while clicking his tongue and shaking his head in disappointment as he led the 6 teens walk into an empty classroom with pieces of food still on them. They sat on the desks in silence as Izuku had his head on his. Detention, on the first day, this has never happened to me, I'm sorry mom. Izuku said while silently sobbing. Oh, what would All Might think, what would his mom and sister think? I hope you all have good attorneys. The purple-haired girl said while filing her nails. What are you going to do? Sue me 'cause I have better aim than you. Kara said. Oh, I knew you threw those potatoes, the purple-haired girl said, pointing her nail file to Kara. No, let's not start fighting again. The Hispanic girl said, rising from her seat. Just to be ready to protect Karen in case another fight broke out. You threw more nuggets than anyone. Kara said to the Hispanic girl. For the record. If I offended anyone, I'm truly very sorry. Karen said, which most of the others except Izuku didn't hear as they continued to argue over who did what to whom during the food fight when they were interrupted by the door suddenly opening. The door opens with the principal back again but with a police officer beside him. We found her just walking down the streets. The officer explained to the principal. Skipping school. On the first day of school. Get in here with the other delinquents while I find out what homeroom you're in. The principal said as a cloaked figure walks into the room as the principal closes the door behind her. Everyone looked at the new arrival and tried to see who it was under the cloak. Once the door closed behind her, the cloak fell off and everyone was shocked at who this person was. There stood a young woman their age with stunning beauty. She had long dark blue hair and appealing sun-kissed tan skin. She wore a golden tiara with a red star on it, red star earrings, red armor with a golden W on her top, just below her large, golden shoulder pads and knee pads, and blue skirt with stars on each side. Red boots and had sliver bracelets and a golden lasso tied to her hip. This young lady walked to the coat-rack and placed her cloak on it before she went to a desk in the middle and sat down to it without saying a thing to the shocked students in the room with her. The students themselves, well, they were in a state of shock. She's gorgeous. Is that the Wonder Woman? Izuku and Babs whisper at the same time, in awe of the mysterious new arrival. That is until a scoff was heard. That's no Wonder Woman. It's just some cosplay girl. Kara said, not impressed at the getup. I am no girl. I am Diana, Princess of Themyscira and the Amazons. I alone survived the 21 trials of. Trust me, Princess. You do not want to pick a fight with me. Kara said. Is that a challenge? Diana said as she stood up from her desk and faced Kara. Alright, but you asked for it. Kara said as she too stood up and faced Diana. The two got into their own fighting stances as Kara threw the first punch but Diana effortlessly evaded the blow. Again. Diana commanded as Kara stared at her a bit and threw another punch, aiming of Diana's head but the Amazonian countered the attack with a kick to Kara's midsection, sending her 2 feet back which made the two surprised for different reasons. For Diana, she thought that Kara would go further than that and for Kara, she was surprised that she was sent back at all. Kara had been done playing around, dusted herself off and blew a bit of her hair off her face decided to continue to attack Diana with sloppy punches which Diana either blocked, dodged or parried. See, come on guys. Please stop this before someone gets hurt. Izuku said, worried about the two as he had a feeling something was going to happen. No, until I hit her. Kara yelled as she was getting frustrated at the fact that Diana was dodging all her attack. In that same frustrated state, Kara threw one big strike to Diana's abdomen and it connected but she forgot to hold back and caused the Amazonian to fly through the room and crash into a wall. Kara-san, what did you do? Izuku shouted as he and the others watched the Amazonian, supposedly, just killed at the hands of Kara, well not everyone since Babs had stars in her eyes at the sight. Oh my gosh. I am so sorry. Are you alright? Kara asked while walking to the hole in the wall. At that moment, Diana shot out of the wall, unharmed and tackled Kara to the ground. She's alive. Izuku yelled, surprised that the princess survived that hit with no scratch on her. The two continued to fight with each other as they rolled around and started to destroy the room while fighting. This caused Izuku, Babs, Karen and the Hispanic girl to move to the other side of the room while the purple-haired girl continued to sit by her desk while applying makeup. They going to destroy the school? Izuku said, seeing as the room was being destroyed. We need to do something. The Hispanic girl said, trying to find a way to stop this fight. But how? Karen asked. Diana and Kara jumped away from each other and glared to one another before they rushed at each other with their fists in the air, ready to punch each other. Izuku sees this and knew if they were to punch each other, they'd destroy the room if not the whole school. He powered up to 8% as the two were near each other, they threw their punches and a shockwave hits the room, knocking everything to the floor. Smoke starts to clear and everyone saw Kara and Diana's hands were held by Izuku's hands while green electricity surged around him. Kara's and Diana's eyes widen at this, it wasn't every day that someone could caught and withstand one of their punches. Please stop this. You'll destroy the school if you continue. Izuku said while holding back the tears as he felt pain from catching the two's punches. He's right. Fighting is never the answer. The Hispanic girl says as her ring glows green and a broom and dustpan manifest and starts sweeping the destroyed room. Yeah. They turn to see Karen putting on torso and gloves shaped very cylindrically, her boots appearing like oversized yellow RBB boots, her visor held by a strap around her helmet, her antennas are bulky and crooked, and parts of her suit like the wings and wrist controls are held together with tape. Later when Diana is assessing the team's capabilities, Karen loops another ribbon of electrical tape around the torso of her suit. The answer is, running away. Karen said as she pushed a few buttons on her gauntlet, and to everyone's surprise, she shrinks to the size of a bee and flies towards the window but hits it repeatedly as she tries to run as a fly would. Kara took this moment to pick up Izuku and throw him to the other side of the room and resumed her fight with Diana. As the fighting was going, the purple-haired girl was still busy applying makeup on her face when she heard someone approaching the door. "Teacher's coming," the purple-haired girl said, which caused everyone to stop either fighting, running away and start trying to fix the destroyed room. The purple-haired girl saw this and knew that they were not going to make it in time when the teacher would come in, so she stood up and took out a magic wand and started speaking. "Nailk site sim pu." The purple-haired spoke but in reverse, and the room was consumed in a purple mist and light as the teacher walked in. He looked and saw that the students were sitting in the now fixed and cleaned room with innocent smiles on their faces, just missing a few sparkles leaving the air. "Everything all right in?" the principal asked with a raised eyebrow. Everything is fine, sir," the purple-haired girl said. "All right, good. I forgot my keys," the principal said as he took his keys that were hanging on the wall and started to close the door, but not before narrowing his eyes at the teens, suspicious of them. As soon as he left, everyone sighed in relief. That was close," Izuku said, feeling relieved that they were safe. His relief, however, was cut short when Kara slammed down to Izuku's desk, making him jump. "All right, Greenie. Start talking. How'd you do that? No one except my cousin can catch one of my attacks like that. How'd you pull it off?" Kara asked, narrowing her eyes to the point that they started glowing red a bit. Izuku couldn't get one word out due to how close Kara was to him and that he was scared that she'd beat him up just to get her answer. "Enough. Calm yourself, sister. Clearly that he is the champion of Zeus," Diana said, pulling Kara away from Izuku. "Huh?" Izuku expressed, confused as to what was going on. "What? He's not Greek. He's Japanese," Kara said. It was at that moment Babs decided to jump up from her desk in excitement. "Aha! I knew it. I knew it, I knew it, I knew it, you guys were super. I knew it from the minute I saw you dent that car door, 'cause no ordinary person could slam a door that strong," she said while pointing to Kara, "and then you spilled all that weird tech onto the ground at the front of the school. I knew something was weird going on with you too," Babs said while pointing to Karen, which made the poor girl to geep and hide from her with her arms. "And then you suddenly had your backpack in your hands and Izuku was like, okay, that was weird, and I was like, tell me about it," Babs continued, pointing to the purple-haired girl. "And then we overheard you talking to that cute boy about some core thing and some ring, and I knew something was up," Babs said while pointing to the Hispanic girl. "So, I decided to start a food fight so we could all get detention, which totally worked, and while I really didn't plan on you showing up at all, but that's another huge bonus, but the real bonus here was you, Izuku," Babs yelled as she points from a confused Diana to an equally confused Izuku. "And me? Yeah, you. I was aware that you were super as well. But anyway, my plan was that you'd all be fighting once we got to dentition and you'd get worked up, you'd forced to reveal your super. Guess what, so am I, the one and only, Batgirl." Babs finishes with her holding her hoodie like it was a cape. Everyone looked utterly confused as to what they had just heard, and after a short while, Izuku decided to speak the question on everyone's mind. "And you thought that having everyone fight each other was a great idea?" Izuku asked. "Okay, maybe I didn't plan everything through, but hey. At least most of it worked. Right?" Babs said. "What is your name, O champion of Zeus?" Diana asked, looking at Izuku. Izukumidoriya. Izuku said. Oh great Izuku. I seek of your guidance. Is it my mission to save the world of man and help put it in the right path? How shall go I about in my quest? Diana asked while taking a knee in front of Izuku, who looked confused at this but slightly blushed. If you're looking to be a superhero. You could learn from others. Like working together in team-ups. Izuku said. A team-up? Gasp like a hero team-up. We could make a superhero team. Babs. Haza. At least, a sister in arms. Never had I dreamed I would encounter another with a warrior's spirit of an Amazonian. For you see, it is my quest, my density to bring the Amazon way for peace and into man's world. And to ruin it of all evil. The gods have bestowed this honor upon me and I feared that I had to carry my burden alone. But now, I rejoice knowing I have a sister in arms and Zeus champion by side in this quest. Diana said, giving a starstruck Babs a bone-breaking hug and pulled Izuku in it as well. Izuku himself was embarrassed. He could feel his blush creeping and heating up his face as he felt every muscle on Diana's body as she gave him the hug and smelt her. Babs on her par was still starstruck until something Diana said clicked in her mind. Oh, no, you have 5 sisters and a champion on your side. Babs said while breaking the hug and points to the other girls in the room. Nope. No way. Every time I use my powers, I get in trouble. Every single time. Kara said. Not me. I'm not fighting anyone. I'm not big on violence. The Hispanic girl said while waving her hands in disagreement while the purple-haired girl laughed a bit. Sorry but I'm an artiste, not a police officer. The purple-haired girl said, with a slyly remake. I'm, not really, good at that, sorry, Karen quietly said. Diana slammed her hands onto her desk, causing the girl to jump back in fright. Cowards. Diana snapped, catching everyone's attention, I speak of density. The same mantle of greatness the gods bestowed upon me, they also bestowed upon you all. Yeah, plus come on. How can you not be excited about this? Think on the heroes, villains will face, having a hidden lair and secret identities. Barbara. Well dear. To have a secret identity, one needs to wear something less weird and more human. The purple-haired girl said while gesturing at Diana's current clothing. The other girls really weren't convinced to Diana's and Bab's words and still had doubts about this whole hero thing until. Look guys. The girls turned to Izuku who looked at them with a smile on his face. I know that you all have a reason that you don't want to do this but think about it. At least consider this, consider that what you're doing out there is of justice and of the good of things. All the greatest heroes that I know aren't the ones who are out there for fame and glory. The greatest are the ones who go out their way to protect those who can't do it of themselves. To save those in need. To do the right thing. From where I'm from, all I wanted to be when I grew up was to be a hero. A real hero who smiles and protect those in danger. I've read comics and saw on the news on different heroes and someone told me that all the greatest have one thing in common. They rushed into the danger and saved someone without them. Izuku's speech had seemed to work as it sparked a bit of passion and determination into the girls. Because of this, it caused Kara, Barbara and Diana to think that Izuku was more than he let on. Deciding to put that in the back of her mind of now, Babs thought of something crazy. Crazy enough that it might work. Okay, how about this? You guys try the superhero idea and Shiel and Izuku will teach us on how to be heroes. In exchange, we let you give her a massive makeover. Deal? Barbara said to the girls as they begun to think on this. Izuku was a bit worried that they might not take this opportunity well until. Oh, who am I to say no to a makeover? The purple-haired teen said while walking to the group. I guess I'll give it a shoot. Karen said, walking to them as well while fiddling with her fingers. While I condone on violence, I guess I could give this hero thing a try. For Karen's sake. The Hispanic girl said, stepping to the group as well. All was left was Kara, who still didn't look convinced. Kara, what do you say? Izuku asked his neighbor on this. Fine, I'll do it if it can get me out of detention early. Kara said, she was looking away from how Izuku was looking at her. She found it adorable. Alright. Superhero super awesomeness. Here we come. Babs yelled as she gave everyone a huge bear hug, single Philly the BRTH of their hero team. But first, we need to find a getup of her. The Hispanic girl said while pointing to the tall Amazon. She cannot walk around like this. Yeah. Izuku agreeing, Diana's current outfit would catch some unnecessary attention. Relax everyone. I know just the place for this kind of situation. The purple-haired girl said. With the school day out, the group had taken Diana to Metropolis Mall to find an outfit of her to wear as an everyday outfit. By the white beard of Zeus. What is this place? Diana asked as the teens were in a fashion clothing store inside the mall. Normal teenager lesson #1, never say stuff like, by the white beard of Zeus. It's not how most teens talk. Barbara said as she took Diana and walked around the store while looking for some clothes for her. Normal teenager lesson #2, you gotta look the part. Wear bright colors, big logos on your t-shirt. Be bold. Barbara said as she put a pink sweater on Diana before Kara pulled her away. LTHR, lots and lots of LTHR. Kara said while handing Diana a large stack of LTHR clothing, before having Babs pulling her away again. Normal teenager lesson #3, your phone is your life. Pics, emails, texts, social media. Everything mankind has ever known. Barbara said while scrolling down her phone at a fast pace, which caused Diana to get dizzy from the overwhelming new information processing to her mind before she was once again pulled by someone. This time, by the Hispanic girl. No LTHR. The Hispanic girl said, knocking away the stack of LTHR clothes Kara gave her before giving Diana a different set of clothes. These were made from an organic cotton from Turkey. She said before Diana was pulled away from her and now was in front of Karen with a set of different sweaters in her arms. Dress to not draw attention to yourself, but know too much or you'll risk draw attention to yourself. Karen said before handing Diana the set of sweaters. The Amazonian was very confused to all this as Babs appeared behind her and pushed her to a dressing room. Now, go in there and be normal. Babs said before closing the curtain and waited with the others to see Diana's new outfit. It didn't take long before the dressing room was open and Diana walked out but. She's looks uncomfortable. Izuku said, with the purple-haired girl nodding. Indeed. Diana said, finding it strong to move around in all the clothes, or breath. I know, Babs said as she ran to grab a few before the purple-haired girl stuck her leg out and tripped Barbara, causing her to fall and stop. Have you finished tormenting this poor girl? The purple-haired girl said, closing her makeup mirror, then allow me. She said as she pulled out her wand from before. Evig sight riga look when cool. The purple-haired girl chanted with a flash of light and purple sparkle mist appeared. The light and mist started to fade, the group looked and were amazed at what the girl had done. She gave Diana a new look, it wasn't much really. Her outfit consisted her attire is a reddish-sleeved shirt with a white undershirt, blue skirt, long white socks, red star-shaped earrings and red shoes. Ladies and gentlemen. I give you Diana Prince, foreign exchange student from Greece. All dressed to impress and be a normal teenager. The purple-haired girl said as she saw everyone looked upon her work. Oh, she's good. The Hispanic girl said, impressed at the purple-haired girl's work. And these garments give me the appearance of a mortal teenage female. Diana asked, while looking at herself in her new clothes. Yep/aha/yes, sure, yes. The other girls said. Everyone has their own style. If it makes you feel good to be in it, then that's your style. Izuku said, while holding his slightly red face back from being seen. Good, now that you've shown me my first lesson into become a teenager as you say. Then, it is my turn to teach you. Diana said as the teens looked at her. She looked around and saw a tall skyscraper and pointed to it. Meet me in half an hour. That is where our training begins. So prepare yourselves. Diana said before she walked away, leaving of the building. Everyone spilt up to go and prepare as Izuku stood there with his eyes widened. He went for his backpack and opened it to see his hero customer was in it with a note. He took the note and read it. I felt you might need your outfit when trouble comes. Knowing you, you'd jump into it to save those in it. Just be safe, sweetie. Mom. P.S. Go and kick some bad guys, Onie-chan. Eri. Izuku smiled and closed his backpack before he started to run to the meetup location. This is where he was about to debut in the United States. He just hoped that he could handle it. On top of a building, Diana was back in her Amazon amour with Izuku and the rest standing in a formal line as soldiers would. Everyone was tense and waiting on what the Amazonian princess will throw at them, with Barbara being the only one excited about starting to train as a hero as she was jumping in place. Izuku was the only one of the others to be in his hero outfit. Izuku was in his hero costume, Hero's Rising version, and had his mask and metal respirator on. He had them on as he found out that most heroes in the States had secret identities, and he was thankful for his mask as the girls couldn't see his ever so red blush from how they were staring at him. See, could you guys stop staring at me? It making me feel embarrassed. Izuku asked, looking at the girls. Sorry, but I got to ask, what with the bunny ears on your head? Kara asked, curious about Izuku's mask attachments. Kara has a good point. Are they in any way linked to your powers? Like you have some bunny powers? The Hispanic girl also asked, as she and the others were more curious about Izuku and his powers. Sisters and champion of Zeus. If we are to be a team, I must know your skills and abilities. Diana said as she caught the others' attention as she walked back and forth in front of them before she stopped and faced the Hispanic girl. You. What is your name, rank and skills? Diana asked the Hispanic girl, who was caught a bit off guard from the sudden action from the Amazon before she calmed down and stepped forward to begin her introduction. Hi everyone. My name is Jessica Cruz, or you can call me Jess. I'm a cadet in something called the Green Lantern's Crops. And, oh boy. This is kind of strong to explain, but I was given this power ring by these weird aliens. She said as she points to the green glowing ring on her right hand. We're some of like space cops and we patrol those different sectors. Jessica said before seeing Diana was completely lost from her introduction. You know what? The whole story is really complicated, but I can basically make stuff with this ring. Jessica said as she points her ring to the air and makes a pot of flowers with it, which surprised everyone there. Wow! That is so cool. Do a pogo stick. Babs asked excitedly as Jessica did what she asked for and made a pogo stick. A burrito. Babs asked again as Jess did it. A super mega burrito. With the works. Babs asked again as Jess was about to do it, but Diana grabbed her hand and placed Jess's hand close to her face to see the ring. With this ring for the gods, you can create any weapon to defeat your opponents into SBMSN. Diana said. Well, in theory, yes. But I don't believe in violence. Jessica said as she pulled her hand back as the thought and mention of weapons and violence made her feel uneasy. Admirable. How shall you be known as? Diana asked. Jessica looks at her ring before she pointed to the air again. Green Lantern. Kinda comes with the ring. Jess said as a flash of green light surrounded her and faded to reveal that her clothes were replaced with new ones. Jess was now wearing a skin-tight suit with her hair have green highlights on them and had a green lantern symbol over her right eyes while her pupils were now green. Izuku was thankful that he had his mask and respirator on to help hide the blush he was having due to seeing how Jessica's suit was showing off her impassive curves. Good, and you Batgirl? What can you do? Diana asked the hyperactive red hair. I can do all sorts of stuff. Even if I don't have any alien rings or superpowers. Babs said as she places her backpack down and started to pull out sorts of things from it as she spoke. Most of which Izuku thought was junk. But I'm really good at figuring things out. And I have these really cool bat gadgets like this, the bat barometer, and this glow-in-dark bat staff and these grappling hooks that I was so close of using when Batman was fighting Professor Pig on the rooftop of this building. But then Robin showed up and Batman had to save him and you how that goes and I never got to show them how they work and I never got to meet them but that's a whole different story. Babs now finished her introduction as she finished changing into her costume. The others having lost her at what she was saying at all but Izuku caught most of it. You know why? You lack focus. Diana said as she walks to the next one. Wait, what? Babs asked, being caught off guard at Diana's words. And what can you do? Diana asked the violet-haired fashionista. You can call me. The violet-haired girl said as she pulls out her wand. The mysterious, the fabulous, the awe-inspiring. Zatanna. The now-named Zatanna said as she waved her wand, and changed from her usual outfit into a magician's outfit, complete with a top hat. Impassive. What other skills do you possess? Diana asked, intrigued by Zatanna's display. I can turn a red heart black. Zatanna said as she pulled a red heart and turned the color black. Even seen a jumping jack? Check behind your ear. Zatanna said as Diana did check and pulled a card from it, surprising her. What sorcery is this? Diana asked, astonished by the trick. Are you a wielder of magic? Izuku asked as Zatanna was pulled a rope of handkerchiefs from her hat. My mentors once told me a story of people with abilities linked to magic. But I never imagined that I'd ever meet someone like you. Izuku said. Why thank you little green bunny. Keep that up I might just pull you out of my hat. Zatanna said, winking to Izuku who nervously rubbed the back of his head. Completely flushed by her offer. I've seen enough. Although you possess great qualities of style, you must learn to channel your magic for a cause. Our cause. Diana said as she starts to walk toward Karen but not before she said her last opinion. And I'm afraid that this uniform of yours will not do. Chose another. Diana finished as she walks to Karen. What? Zatanna asked, feeling slightly insulted. Try a cape on for size. They pretty cool. Babs said as Zatanna looked at herself and started thinking on her new outfit. Karen was seen, putting on a roll of duct tape on her left arm guard while she was wearing her yellow armor. What can you do? Diana asked, causing the short girl to jump in fright due to not seeing Diana in front of her. I can, Karen was trying to find her words while applying more duct tape onto her armor but the tape got caught to her hand and made her screech in pain due to having the tape rub off her hand. Sorry, I'm still working out on the kinks. Karen nervously said as she gulped down the limp in her throat before pushing a button on her keypad on her wrist, making her shrink down, just like in detention. Oh, the wings aren't supposed to buzz like that. Karen groaned in disappointment before flying over to Diana and landing on her index finger. I'm working on missile launchers, but they keep on malfunctioning. The whole thing's messed up. Karen said before sitting on Diana's finger. I wanted to be big and strong so people could notice me. But, my growth tech backfired and now, I'm even smaller and unnoticeable than before. I should just go home and give up. Karen explained, feeling slightly annoyed with herself thanks to her failure. Don't feel too bad, Karen-san. You're not unnoticeable than you think, you to jerry-rig a suit that makes you shrink without any help or special tools. That alone shows your intelligence is off the charts. And if it makes you feel any better, why you kinda look like those fairies in those fairy tales we read as kids. Izuku said, trying to cheer Karen up a bit. He did feel sympathy towards her as he was in her position not too long ago. Thanks, Izuku. Karen said, feeling a little bit better as she makes a small smile, and she was thankful that she was small as she had a blush. Zeus's champion is correct. You possess far more strength than you realize, you just simply lack confidence. Little bumblebee. Diana said as she looked right into Karen's eyes. Actually, I'd like to prefer the indestructible, gamma phase. 1000K. Karen was trying to say a name that no one could be able to say. Bumblebee it is. Diana said, cut in on Karen's name, which made everyone feel better at much shorter and easier name as Karen took her normal size. Trust me. It's way better. Babs whispered to Karen. Izuku, champion of Zeus. Now it is your turn. Diana said to Izuku, causing him to stand up straight. Everyone then looked at Izuku, who was taken back slightly as he was still not used to having attention onto him, much less from a group of girls. He knew he had to explain his powers and skills on them, but I can't tell them about one for all, well, not yet at least. I guess I have to say the lie I was telling everyone else back home. Izuku thought as he starts to think carefully on what he says. Hi, I'm Izukumidoriya from Japan. My hero name is Deku and I have a quirk called superpower. I know, so unoriginal, Izuku said as some of the other girls chuckled at the name of his power. Basically, my quirk allows me to increase the physical abilities throughout my body or a particular limb. Izuku said, everyone was following with what he was saying, but Diana got confused at something he said. Quirk. What is this quirk that you speak of? Diana asked. A question that others had thought of. Oh, right. Well, about 80% of the total population has an uncanny ability that we get from our genetics we call a quirk. I think you guys here call that a meta gene. Anyway, in Japan, we have 80% of people who have superpowers that either use them to either help them go about on their daily lives, use them to save the day, or wreak havoc onto society. So, my country's government inserted laws that forbid civilians from using their quirks in public. Regardless on the reason behind. Your country has laws on this? Jess asked. Why yeah, we do. But some people don't listen to the rules, so they still use their quirks in public for their own reasons. So the government inserted another laws when people who want to fight and save others from evildoers. We call them pro-heroes. The reason behind that is because they had to go through a special course in a high school or academy that teaches one on the heroic laws we have and go through training to obtain a license that allow them to legally allow them on using their quirks in public for the purpose of saving others. Izuku finished his explanation. And do you have this license? Why yeah, I got it recently but changed it to an international license as well. Izuku said as he pulled out his provincial license and showed it to the girls. Excellent. As you have experience on dealing justice, you will be a reliable ally in the battlefield. Especially to withstand an attack from an Amazon and scoff it off is not an easy feat to do. You should be proud of yourself, young Izuku. Diana said with a smile on her face which Izuku found cute. Thank you, Izuku said, happy and feeling embarrassed from the praise he was receiving from the Amazonian warrior. Diana then turned her attention to the last one. The rebellious Kara. And now you. We know that you possess incredible strength. Diana stared walking to the blonde, knowing fully well that Kara wasn't really Coop. Not to you. I'm no hero, princess. That racket's for chumps. Kara scoffed. What's wrong on being a hero, Kara-san? Izuku asked, confused as to why Kara refused on trying to be a hero. He is right. If you focused onto it, you could be one of the greatest heroes man has ever known. Nope, I ain't doing it. Like I told you. Every time I use my powers, I got into trouble, every single time. Kara said. I see. I see what you lack. You lack motivation. Diana yelled as she suddenly grabbed Babs and threw her off the building, causing everyone else to scream in fright. Have you lost your mind? Jess yelled at the steel-faced Diana. Barbara's screams were getting fainter and fainter as everyone but two stood still. A green blur passed them and stared to bounce off the walls of the surrounding buildings. Upon further look, it was Izuku in his full cowling at 40%, shooting towards Barbara. He could feel his bones and muscles in his legs either tear or creak and fracture from him pushing his limit on OFA, but he pushed the pain back as he focused on saving Barbara from her death. Just as he was about to catch her, a red and blue blur intercepted her and caught him too. Izuku could see that he was flying back to the top of the rooftop where him and their other were on before Diana launched Babs from being carried by Kara as she had Batgirl in her arms while he was riding piggyback. Izuku saw Kara had changed into another outfit. She was now wearing a blue long-sleeve shirt with a very familiar S in a diamond on her chest, a red cape, a red short skirt, a gold belt that held the skirt and red boots. With all this put on her, it showed off her well-developed muscle body very well. Izuku was glad his mask was still on, because he didn't want anyone to see his blush he gained from Kara's new outfit. Okay, fine. I am a superhero. Alright. So what? The blonde relents. Again, Barbara said. Barbara-san, please calm down, Izuku said. But Kara can fly and look. She has a Superman S on her outfit. That could mean that she has more powers. Like Superman. Barbara said. You know, I'm still here. Kara said as she dropped Izuku and Barbara to the ground. Babs got up easily but Izuku laid there as he felt pain in his body and groaned. Izuku? What's wrong? Karen asked, seeing Izuku wasn't getting up. Izuku knew he broke something from his attempt to save Barbara and he knew that without Recovery Girl there to heal him, he had to tell the truth. I think I got some fractures in my legs. Izuku said. What? Kara yelled as she used her X-ray vision to see what was broken inside of Izuku and saw that he had hairline fractures on his femurs and few cracked bones in his hands. I don't drop you that strong. No, it isn't from you, Kara-san. And my quirk has a massive drawback to it. My body isn't really used to my quirk yet, and if I go over a certain amount percentage of power my body is used to. So if I go over that limit, I could easily break bones, tear muscles and rupture my organs. Izuku said as he gave a nervous laugh. You what? Barbara yelled as she grabbed Izuku by his shoulders and processed to shake him in hopes to get answers from him. How can you have such amazing power yet it gives you a drawback like that? What do you have to say for yourself, mister? Ow. Izuku could only say from his now increased pain. Stop. Can't you see that you're making him feel worse from your shaking? Jess asked as she pulled Batgirl off of Izuku and made him lay on the ground in pain. Well, we can't have our little green bunny already broken. Let Satana fix you up. Senab Sai Zif. Satana said as Izuku felt better. In fact, he felt great. He then jumped in the air and did a spin kick in midair. Wow, I feel better already. Thanks Satana. Not even Recovery Girl or Eri could heal me this quickly. Izuku thanked the magician as he continued to do some moves to see if he really better. Thank you, thank you. You're too kind. Satana said as bowed, letting Izuku's praise go to her head. Who is this Recovery Girl and Eri you speak of? Diana asked. Oh, well Recovery Girl is my school's nurse back in Japan and Eri is my little sister. Here, I'll show you her. Izuku said as he pulled out his phone and showed a picture he took of him and Eri hanging out with Mirio Togata as the three went to the park back in Japan. Oh my gosh! She's so cute! Kara yelled, surprising everyone as she floated over them and, look at her little horn and dash. Kara stopped as she realized that she wasn't alone and went back to her rebel attitude. I mean, she looks alright. Kara said as she closed her eyes and looked away but cracked her eye open little bit to continue to look at Eri. Enough, aside from the adorable unicorn girl. We now have work to do. Diana said, getting everyone's attention. Prepare yourselves, as you will push yourselves to your limits. Everyone was pumped, ready to do well in what was in store of them, but some were nervous as they really didn't know what they were going to do. The 6 females and 1 male teens went to the only place throughout the city that they could go to and do team training perfectly and without causing damage to private property. The Metropolis Junkyard. We came all this way just to play with junk. Kara said. She had her arms crossed against her chest as she and the rest were standing in a single file while Izuku had his mask and respirator off. Yeah, I conjured a new outfit just to hang out in a junkyard. Zatanna said, who was now in a sink-tight black suit with a white Y shape around her body. She wore purple leggings and black boots, and all with that she had an astonishing cape that had a purple interior design while her hair glowed with energy and sparkles. Shoo! She knows what she's doing. Barbara whispered to the magician of the group. Soldiers. Diana said, causing everyone to stand at attention. Our mission is to save the world of man. Diana said as she was walking in front of the rest. That's right. Babs shouted, getting excited. And to do this. Diana continued. Preach, sister. We must learn. Woo-oh. To save man himself. Diana finished as she points to a group of mannequins, but. I think those are ladies. Karen said, pointing out that the mannequins were not in the form of males but females. Izuku, show us what you can do to save those civilians. Diana said as she threw a hubcap to a tall stack of cars and caused it to become unstable and fall over the mannequins. Izuku quickly called OFA and went into gull cowling and shot straight into the endangered civilians. His eyes darted left and right as he analyzed the situation and what possible outcomes could come from his next actions. Izuku saw that the top of the tower was compressed of scrap metal and was the most dangerous as it was falling the fastest, so he jumped in the air and placed his right arm in front of him while using his left arm as a support as he had his ring finger and thumb in a flicking position as the outside layer across his wrist jolted forward. Delaware Smash, Air Force. Izuku mentally called out as he released his finger, sending a powerful compressed air blast to the scrap of metal and blasted it away from the civilians. Now using the added breathing room, Izuku landed back to the ground and ran toward the mannequins. Using the speed of 6%, Izuku grabbed the mannequins and was about to move to a safe zone when a rusty car was fall over them. Seeing that there was no time to dodge the car and move the mannequins out of the way, Izuku charged back into the fray and cocked his fist and jumped towards the car. Detroit Smash. Izuku yelled mentally as he punched the car square on its roof, sending it toward the remaining tower and made it fall backwards, away from the civilians. Izuku bounced from scrap of metal that was still falling and sent them away as he finally landed back to the ground and to the mannequins. He sighs in relief that the mannequins were fine and more importantly, himself. He turned around to see his new teammates and saw their reactions as they were ranged from utter amazement to utter shock and finally admiration. Diana was clearly proud and amazed at his skills. She was right when she felt he had experience in this. Kara was utterly surprised at how skillful Izuku was. Barbara was awestruck from Izuku's display in skills and power as she had stars in her eyes. Karen was close to fainting from how exciting that was. Jessica was in shock from the sheer speed and power the foreign boy had, and Zatanna was simply surprised at the speed Izuku used to clear his challenge. Did I do well? Izuku asked, feeling uncomfortable from how the girls were staring at him. Well. You think that you did well? You did excellent, Izuku. Diana yelled, giving the boy a bone-crushing hug, which was crushing his side in her vice grip. You demonstrated and displayed skills in power, strategy in this training excurix. You are truly worth to be called a hero and a champion of Zeus. Diana said as Izuku was blushing and lets him go before turning to the rest of the girls. Now sisters. It is your turn. Diana said, causing the rest to look at each other. Diana stacked a mountain of rusty cars and stood on top of it as it was right beside a large group of mannequins, which Kara was right in the middle of them. Diana looked down and gave Kara the signal to begin and jumped off the stacked tower of cars, tilting it and making it fall towards the group of plastic people. This caused Kara to blast off and punched the fall scrap of metal and caused an explosion which made the rest of the fall metal to scatter. Kara hovered lower to the ground as she smiled to herself, expecting to receive the same amount of praise that Izuku got in his turn, but she saw horror and disappointment from the others. Izuku only lifted his hand and pointed to the ground and made Kara look down for her to see and cringe that her punch caused the rusty cars and scrap of metal to hit the mannequins or sent the mannequins to different places, either under the cars or stabbed by the scrap of metal. There were no survivors. The group decided for Diana's next lesson and stop on being a normal teenage should be. Normal Teenager Lesson Number 4, Pop Culture. Babs said as she dragged Diana into a comic book store, please. As if you can call this culture. Zatanna said, not impressed by the store's variety. Izuku looked around and saw something that caught his eyes. No way. They have a manga section. Izuku said as he went to the section and saw that the store offered different stores of manga, like the classic volumes of Dragon Ball to the modern Dragon Ball Super, Naruto, both pre- and post-time skip, One Piece, Bleach, Demon Slayer, Fairy Tail, Mob Psycho 100, One Punch Man and various others, but one item made his heart stop beating for a minute or two. No way. The first issue limited edition All Might comic. And it's in color. Izuku said, releasing the inner fanboy he was. Barbara herself found something she found interesting thanks to Zatanna pulling it out. No way. This is the super rare Batman Giant Super Special Limited Edition with the wall Batman poster. I would kill for this, Barbara yelled. Have you learned nothing? We must protect the innocent, not engage in meaningless slather over material goods. Diana said as she grabbed Barbara's shoulders. She didn't see what was happening. Diana, it's just an expression. A figure of speech. Jessica explained as the group exited the store. Yes, for instance. If you were hungry, you could say, I'd kill for a burrito. Now you try. Jessica said as she spotted a burrito stand just across the street from them. Unfortunately, Diana misunderstood again and slammed her palms onto the stand and yelled at the man in charge of the stand, causing him to run of his life as Diana gave chase to pay the man and made the rest run after her so she won't cause more trouble, but they missed people walking around with green VR headsets in the streets. Back at the junkyard, it was Zatanna's turn as her task was to save the civilians from being crushed alive from the car compactor. She flew high in the air with a purple magical aura around her and her eyes shone bright purple as she began to move and dance around with an orb of light. Finally, after a bit of time, she threw the orb to the compactor's SWCH and flicked the SWCH and turned off the compactor. She landed back to the others and created a few pairs of energy hands that gave her a round of applause as she gave a few showman bows, but that lasted until Batgirl walked up to her and pointed to the conveyor belt and pointed to it and showed Zatanna that the mannequins were already crushed and cubed, 10 seconds ago, long before she flicked the SWCH. It was now Karen's turn. Kara got hold of the guard dog and held it by its chain as it barked while Jessica placed a piece of steak onto a mannequin's while she was holding her lunch. Karen was getting scared as she looks around and see Diana giving her the signal to start. She gulped and quickly shrank down and pulled out her missile launchers. The dog continued to bark before Kara let the chain go and rushes towards Karen and the steak. Karen pushed her launch buttons in hopes that she'd fire at the dog, but nothing but a spark from them as Karen realized that her missile launcher short-circuited again. She looks up and sees the dog was still rushing towards her as she flies away and hides behind Diana as they watch the dog pull the stake off the mannequin's face, along with the head off the mannequin. Karen then faints from the sight as Diana tried to comfort the poor girl, that is until the dog escaped from the pin and caused the young heroes to give chase to capture it again. Back to the normal teenager lesson, it was Zatanna's turn on teaching Diana the ways on being a teenager. She decided to take the girls and a reluctant Izuku to a spa. The girls, -1, were getting various treatments that the spa was offering. Zatanna was getting the full beauty treatment, Barbara was getting a pedicure, Karen, a massage, Jessica, a seaweed facial, and Diana was struggling against the masseuses as they were trying to work on her. The only two to not get anything was Izuku, who was just sitting on a chair, and Kara, who was on her phone, not interested on doing anything girly related. Normal teenager lesson #26, what are we doing again? Barbara asked, not fully understanding what were they actually doing. Pampering ourselves. Isn't this relaxing? Being a normal teenage girl is taking care of yourself. Zatanna explained as Diana continued to struggle against the masseuses. And in the world of man, the toenail is the point of focus? Diana asked, she really felt like doing anything but this. Yes. Isn't this fun? Zatanna said, enjoying her treatment. Such enormous calluses. Time for the big guns. A masseuse said as she pulled out an electric nail filer. Weapon. Diana shouted as she pulled out her lasso of truth. The masseuses ran away while Diana ran after them. The others chased after their friends, running past Kara, who looked up from her phone to see what was happened, and a red-faced Izuku who may or may not have seen a couple of underwear flashes which made him pass on his chair while Kara ran out of the spa and straight to the music store across from the street. Back at the junkyard. Barbara was next to the plate. Her task, save a cat doll that was hanging from a tree while a group of mannequins were in the way. Diana pointed to the cat, but Barbara was a bit distracted with a butterfly that flew by her. After getting her attention back again with a rock to the head, Diana again told Babs what her task was. Babs followed it and dashed off to do it, but not staying to hear the last detail Diana wanted to tell her. Babs slid and flipped under and over the mannequins while punching some, kicking some, and dashed past some more. Babs pulled the pins of her back grenades and dropping them, blowing the remaining standing mannequins to kingdom come, and jumps up to the tree and captures the cat, cheering herself for completing her task. As she turns to her teammates, she sees them either having disappointed or horrified expressions on their faces. She starts to realize that maybe her task was not what she thought it was. Those weren't bad guys, were they? Barbara asked nervously. The team just nodded their head no, confirming that the bad guys were really just bystanders. Lastly, it was Jessica's attempt on hero training, being as she was against violence. Diana had the mannequin stand in front of her and Jessica while she made Barbara drive a large wrecking machine. Diana tasks her to fight against the machine to save the mannequins, but Jessica just refuses as her belief on non-violence was still with her. Seeing that she couldn't convince Jessica on this and to prove that her belief was the best, she created a green safe with her power ring and placed the mannequins in it and far from the machine. Diana gave up, but she did see this coming, so she told Babs another task to do in the event that this should happen and told her to crush Kara and Izuku with the machine's attachment. Jessica and the others did try and save the two, but Kara destroyed the mouth of the machine, sending the others flying while Izuku landed onto Diana's arms. Onto Diana's next normal teenage lesson. The gang went to the movies to teach the Amazonian on how to behave in the movie. Unfortunately, the majority voted on viewing a film called Dull Expressionless Love. Normal teenager lesson number 86, Romance. Babs said as she arrived with a bucket of popcorn. Just wanna say that I really wanted to watch that new Danger Zone movie. Kara complained as the film was the stereotypically cringe-worthy love fest movie. How anyone found these type of film enjoyable was beyond Izuku's and Kara's understanding. What is happening? Diana asked. What even she was watching was beyond her understanding. Aiden just realized that he can't live without Catelyn. But Alexander is telling Aiden that Catelyn won't text him until tomorrow because that's exactly what Michael didn't do to her when they broke up, and isn't this just so sad and appealing? Karen explained to Diana the situation of the film as she sighed at the lesson behind the film, leaving Diana much more confused than she was. Teenage males are very confusing, Diana said, not truly understand what was going on. Tell me about it. Jessica, Zatanna, Barbara and Karen all said at once, agreeing with what Diana said but forgetting that there was one more with them. Are we really? Izuku thought as he felt that teenage girls were just as confusing as they were. As the movie was reaching its CLMX, in which the lead male actor rushes to the home of the lead female actor and the two hug each other but not before they start to lean onto each other's faces to share a deep embrace, but Diana thought something else was happening. Beware Catelyn. Aiden attacks. Diana yells as she pulls out a sword and rushes toward the screen as the others try to tell her that he wasn't really going to attack her. The group left the cinema shortly after that fiasco. Let's face it, you guys. She's not going to get it. Kara said, feeling tired that their lessons were not helping at all with Diana, but she felt grateful that she was out of that movie. No. I'm not giving up on this team. Barbara said. But it's only been 1 day since Diana came here. Maybe she'll act like one in a week or two. No one is good at anything on one try. Izuku said, validating that Diana's actions and behavior was normal to her, and trying to change someone can take time. But there's gotta be something that can loosen up a trained warrior princess. But what? Barbara asked as she began thinking on something that could make Diana feel like a normal teen. It didn't take long before Karen thought of something. I got it. Karen said as she and the rest went to the amusement pier on the other side of Metropolis. The teens arrive there and see an assortment of stands, rides, arcades and other attractions that the pier had to offer. The group first went to the skis ball to play it and had fun, even though one of the machines got broke to do Kara's super strength. The teens introduced pizza to Diana and helped her get untied from a rope of cheese. She somehow got herself tied in form eating a slice, even though it caused them to laugh. They next rode on the roller coaster, which scared Diana and Izuku as the two really haven't rode a roller coaster before. They then spent the majority of the evening either dancing to the music that was being played on the boardwalk, collect prizes from the stands and finally taking a group photo in a photo booth. All in all, they were having a blast. As the group of friends were busy at the pier and having fun, danger was looming though the streets of the city, as signs of closed indefinitely were on the stores and places the team were in earlier in the day, as robots were in front of them and begun destroying them. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 2. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author Pixel's fanbook on fanfiction.net. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.